Okay, so I'm just going to go through you guys with the application. So the first part of the application is to submit information to the database. Oh, firstly, I just need to show you guys how to attach and detach a database. So this is just what we were working on yesterday. So now I'm going to detach the database, which means that I'm removing the database from the database files from my database, which means that now it's no longer on the local host. So when I refresh my database, the database is going to be gone. So if I want to work with the database again, I need to detach. So you right click on databases, click, attach, and the database that we're working on, it's equipment app DB. And then I attach the database. So I'm now going to have access to the database. So here, the database is two tables, the equipment type table and the equipment table. So before I add an equipment, I actually need to add an equipment type. So now, in order for me to add an equipment type, I actually need to click on the submit, bring all the classes through, and then this is the code for adding, an equipment, and then this is the code for listing an equipment when you click on the list button. And then in terms of the equipment, so in order for me to add an equipment, I actually need an equipment type as a foreign key. So here I actually select the equipment type. So in order for me to load this is a combo box. So I load my combo box here. So you import two important things in the combo box, the display member, which is what the user should see, and the value member, which is what you select and you add. So when you're adding the equipment type ID, you actually take the selected value, because that's the value that is the equipment type ID. And then when you display, you actually display the description. So that is that. And then the other thing is, when you want to now update or get a record, a single record, so you actually need to check, is there how many rows are selected? So you normally select one row and you take that row's data, and then you display that in the text boxes or in the controls in your form that you want to either delete or update. So the way to do that, you take the data grid view and then you say selected rows. So there's normally one selected row. So that selected row is going to be at position 0 in most cases. And then, you take the cell. So there's different cells. So that's the only thing that is going to differ in the specific row. And then you update. Or if you want to delete, you delete. So now what I'm getting to is the reports form, which we have done. So in terms of the reports, we've done different characters or different SQL, advanced SQL. So the first one is when you use the like. So I did search on that and I noticed where I went wrong. So I was putting the percentage sign on this side, even though the percentage sign should be, here. And then the one character that I was getting is the plus, to indicate that this parameter is going to be included to this wildcard, which works with the like operator. So now if I execute this, so let's say, for instance, I type B. So I do have, for instance, bunch of papers, which exists there. And then if I say TA, I think there is a tablet. So that works if you want to, use a condition to search for that. And then the other thing is the from and the to, which uses the between. So here we select the information. We use the from keyword. So the from, which is the tables, and then the where clause is going to join the table to the foreign key table, and then say use the between. So this is the from, which is represented by the first text box, then this is the true, which is represented by this text box. And then the returned information is going to be displayed on the data grid view. And then over here, so because this normally has problems if the connection is closed or open, so I just had a connection. So I just checked whether the connection string is open or closed. And if the connection string is closed, then I should open it. If it's open, then I should continue. So here, I actually select based on the selected ID, which is I put an @ over there. And then now, because I actually want to say this is where to get the ID for that, but now this normally does not easily get converted. So what I did was just to, use a try pass and then store this in the equipment ID and then use that as the parameter. And then based on that selected, I'm going to return the query and then store that in a data table and then display that to my data grid view. So now, if I come here, and then I select, for instance, furniture, then the two types of furniture is going to be displayed, which are linked to the ID that I've selected. And then papers, that's where I select the papers. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to share the application with you. Yeah. So I'm hoping that you guys are going to, find this or try and work on this. And this is going to help you on your upcoming practical assignment that you guys are going to be required to work on. So thank you for listening.